Welcome back to the dojo, everybody. I'm Ryu, that's Age, and this is our 2025 year in review, something I wanted to do the last couple years, but we never got around to it because of various reasons. But for this year, we had a bunch of things to talk about, so finally have time for it now that Age is feeling better and whatnot. Trying to catch up on everything and wanting to add things, like doing the Hitman Let's Plays and stuff like that for all the new elusive targets that are coming out since Madhouse, and I really do enjoy Hitman content, so we'll be doing at least those when they come out, at the very least, for extra stuff. We want to do some gaming discussions. We already have one lined up that we want to do when we talk about some gacha stuff with the new Arknights is what I know it's Enfield, but it's Arknights, right?
It's Arknights Enfield, yeah. It's the sequel to the original Arknights. Which the original Arknights isn't ending, it's a chronological sequel with different gameplay.
Yeah, so that's something we want to talk about. There's something that came up with that, so we kind of want to do some more gaming news stuff that we're doing, that kind of thing. Or just more stuff going on for the channel.
Random side note, I meant to mention this to you earlier, but on the Enfield note, they're going to get another free 6-star standard character.
Alrighty then. Well, we'll have to talk about that a little bit more in that video, because this is more about anime, obviously. So, let's talk about last year a little bit for the stuff that we did do for the channel. So I have the list here and stuff we did for the channel. We started the year by continuing Bleach 1,000 Year Blood War Part 3. We did the second half of that kind of thing. That was, Bleach was great. We're not going to completely re-review everything. We're just going to kind of quickly talk about each show. Bleach was great. Not really any notes. Everything in that Part 3 was fantastic. I enjoyed everything about it. So that really has no notes. We finished up Danmachi Season 5. Once again, one of the main staples of our channel, really, during that whole period. For the longest time, Danmachi held down Mondays for well over almost 2 years. You know what I mean? When we first started the channel. So
yeah,
it was nice to get back to Danmachi on Mondays. We are also finishing up Season 2 of MF Ghost, which we just started Season 3 just now. So that was fun. So those were the first bit of the year there, so that was fine. Then for our winter shows at the beginning of last year, we had Solo Leveling Season 2, Guild Receptionist Season 1. We also had to tack on a little bit of extra ReZero Season 3 because of that weird split half single core thing that they did. That was really weird. That was part of it. But as for the beginning part of the year there, Solo Leveling was Solo Leveling, guys. You know what I mean? We talked about that. It was what it was. Very cool to watch, but not really much of a story and not a ton of actual real character development. Yes, Genu got stronger. Okay. It was a very cool show to watch, but I know there was a lot of stuff going on with them talking about how it was between Frieren and Solo Leveling for Anime of the Year. Frames and cool fights don't make an entire show. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Was Solo Leveling very fun and cool to watch? Absolutely. I enjoyed it for what it was, but it was not a great show. The story is Genu wants to save his mom, gets a plot device to level up and get stronger, and then he fights some ants. That's it. You know what I mean? He has his leveling up experience and all that stuff, but the crazy thing to me with that was his initial set out goal to save his mother was frowned upon by the community. It's why are you guys mad that he completed his goal of saving his mother's life? That's insane to me. Why aren't we celebrating him accomplishing his goal? You know what I mean? Yes, it's very Act 1, and they teased an actual story with the other worlds and stuff like that, wherever his dad went and those guys that showed up at the end of the final episode, to have some semblance of an actual plot outside of just cool fights and stuff like that. But the stuff with the demon tower and that demon girl that he met, and how they're probably worlds that were defeated by the gates and stuff like that, it shouldn't take till Season 3 to get to an actual story. You know what I mean? So once again, very cool show for what it was, but not an Anime of the Year contender. Frames and cool fights do not make a complete show. When you're talking about anime or show or whatever of the year, it needs to be a complete package. It needs to have, yes, cool fight sequences, good soundtrack, good sound design, good VA work, plot, actual story. You know what I mean? actual character development, good character interactions, that kind of thing. So Solo Leveling, it was cool, but not Anime of the Year contender. That was Frieren. That's not even, no questions asked there. But that was what it was. So, and then to a completely other direction, we did Guild Receptionist season 1 because we thought it would be a fun show. We looked at it and it was kind of like up our alley. We had done like things like Reincarnated as a Sword, stuff like that. We thought it was going to be something to that effect. We knew it was like fantasy, not an isekai, because it's just a fantasy setting. And that was arguably one of the biggest shows we've ever ripped on. And we don't really like to rip on stuff because it's easy. Yeah. Throwing shade, criticizing stuff, throwing stuff under the bus, being mean about stuff, it's way too boring and easy for me. You know what I mean? Yes, we're objective as we possibly can. That's something we'll talk about in our re-intro video that's coming up. But I don't like to shit on things because too many people do it. There's too much negativity out there. I'd rather celebrate the things that are positive and that were good about something and that kind of thing. When something needs to be criticized is bad for whatever reason, yes, we talk about it. We don't talk about it ad nauseum because it's boring to me and it brings a negative, aspect to the channel and the streams and stuff like that. I don't like to do that. I like to focus on the positives while we go into any show not expecting a lot, because we'd rather be pleasantly surprised than be unbelievably beyond hyped and have your hype level at 900 and then be quote unquote let down by the show. It's that's not a way that you want to go into anything. Sure, you can be excited for something I'm excited for MF Ghost Season 3. I love the car racing stuff and stuff like that. And I figure as long as they keep doing what they're doing, I'm going to be satisfied with the product. Could it be a tiny letdown? Sure, but I don't think it's really going to let me down. It's going to be exactly where it needs to be, that kind of thing. But when you go into a new show that you know nothing about, like Guild Receptionist, you kind of look at the box, you look at, the art style was great. You know what I mean? There are a lot of things about the show that were totally fine. But it was devoid of actual character development. It was devoid of a reasonably coherent story. You know what I mean? The pacing was atrocious. It took them 10 episodes to get done what most shows got done in. And I made this comparison when we got to Campfire Cooking Season 2. What Makoto gets done in the first 3 episodes of that series in Campfire Cooking was more than they did in all of the 12 episodes of Guild Receptionist. It was out of control. Now, and I talked about this, and I went back and read up to the point of where Season 1 of Guild Receptionist ends in the source material, and it reads completely fine. No different than the majority of other manga that I've read in the last year, just to kind of catch up on stuff. I read all of My Dress Up Darling. That was a thing that we watched, and that was one of the shows that I had all the source material knowledge on, and knowing things about the series source material going in was a neat experience for me, because I had that for Nier, because Nier Season 2 was something we did as well, because that was on the backlog. It was cool to get through Nier Season 2. But when it came to Guild Receptionist, man, there was just and we didn't, once again, we go into things not expecting a whole lot, but that was just a letdown of I can't believe it was this bad. You know what I mean? So that one was, while we haven't done a lot of shows where we just completely rag on it, you know what I mean? We had that kind of thing with when we did Tokyo Revengers, but Tokyo Revengers was a roller coaster. Yeah. When Tokyo Revengers was good, it was damn good. But other times it was the hell is this? You know what I mean? So, but Guild Receptionist just didn't have that. It had a reasonable premise, but it was executed poorly, at least in the anime. Like I said, it reads okay, but in the anime, it was a big nothing burger, which was a bummer, because once again, the character designs, the love that went into the character designs and the art and the backdrops and all that stuff, that was completely fine. It was some of the best art design, period. You know what I mean? Just that top quality, top tier art and character design, stuff like that. Attention to detail, when I don't remember her name, but the main character, when she goes shopping for cakes and stuff like that, the amount of detail work in the pastries and all that kind of stuff was top tier. It was great. But that's really the only thing I could really say great about the show is the art style was very good, the character designs were solid, and just like the attention to like hyper details, like in their outfits and like the shops and stuff like that, the weaponry. It was very cool. They had a cool concept with like the magic and stuff like that. A lot of those effects were cool. The rest of it, it was pretty painful to watch. By the time we got to like episode 6, it was like, are we gonna do something? It's been 6 weeks, man. So that was our biggest gripe of last year by a wide margin. Okay, so as we go down this list, we got Harley Quinn season 5, the HBO animated series. That series, as much as people like to say it's taken a downward turn, you know what I mean, I think it's been pretty consistent, and it's still a very good show. They still find ways to keep the audience engaged. What they did with Brainiac this season was fantastic. They didn't overstay the welcome of like the Brainiac show when it was like the Jetsons, but it was Brainiac. That was hilarious. You know what I mean? It was a perfect length for that, and I've never heard anybody insult somebody by calling them a genital. I actualized it, you genital. What a great thing for a kid to say to their parent. So Harley Quinn, once again, is still top notch. They did the Kite Man side series. We did that back in 2024. That was very fun. I like what they did with that. So hopefully they'll do something more with it, but they're like in talks for that show. They're still debating what they're gonna do with it. You know what I mean? I still think they could get at least bare minimum. I want them to get to the point where Harley becomes like gets trained by the Amazons and like hangs out with Wonder Woman and stuff like that. I think that would be the perfect place to kind of like end the series, where she becomes like the Justice League's psychiatrist, and she's like had all her Amazon training, and she's, you know, at that point in the stage of Harley Quinn's development. I think that would be a great place to leave that series, because they've kind of hinted that at that kind of thing as the series has gone on. It's like what they've done with Harley in that show. So as for that's what I'm looking for Harley Quinn. I hope they get at least that far, because it's a very good show across the board. Just all the seasons have been quite good, you know. So that was another a solid show that we had last year. ReZero season 3, pretty good across the board. No real huge complaints. Subaru is getting slightly more tolerable. There were a lot of cool moments in the series leading into, we're getting season 4 immediately. We're getting season 4 in a couple months here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Not waiting 5 years for the next season. So that's really cool. So I'm excited for that. So ReZero was solid. You know, we enjoyed it. It was good. Part of the Isekai Quartet. Then we moved into Sakamoto Days, season 1. Very cool show. I think it's definitely, it takes what was very cool about solo leveling and actually had better pacing, actual character development, a reasonably compelling storyline for what's going on with the assassins in that world, that kind of thing. Very John Wick. That was fun. Our only gripe with the series was certain, let's say, physical aspects of firearms and or vehicles. Because yes, Sakamoto is ridiculous, and there's a lot of characters that are like superhuman, like that go beyond like the average what like humanity is capable of. Like Sakamoto's like biggest feat was him doing the like the scooter thing with the landing gear of a plane. You know what I mean? Yeah,
so, the freaking the landing gear segue was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, but that show had a lot of cool moments in it. Alexa Bliss, one of my favorite female wrestlers of all time, she voiced a character in the show. She nailed it. I think she was great for the character that she did. That kind of thing, like little cameo.
The whole like 2 episodes she was there.
Yeah, but you know, still, she was one of like the side characters to one of the Sakamoto's like classmate assassins that he went to school with. So that was cool. But across the board, Sakamoto Days was great. I'm looking forward to season 2. Very, very good show for what it is. Then we rolled into iPerry. Well, not, you know, all these shows are about the same time. So at the same time as Sakamoto Days, we had Fire Force season 3, which got my original channel deleted off of YouTube, but I did get it back. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Fire Force season 3, very good. You know, we had very few gripes with it. Fire Force season 3 part 2 just started. We're doing that right now. If you guys want to check that out, that's on the channel right now. Looking forward to seeing how the series wraps up. But the big sticking point for that is, are they going to cut content because they need to do like 90 chapters in like 12 episodes? So That's the big question mark going on with Fire Force right now. But the first part of season 3, solid. No real any complaints there. And the other show we were doing at that time was I Parry Everything, season 1. It sounded ridiculous. And after Guild Receptionist, I was just like, well, we need another like random show, and this looks ridiculous. So let's try again. You know what I mean? And I Parry Everything was everything that we thought Guild Receptionist was going to be, except that the budgets were flip-flopped. I Parry Everything had like no budget and no attention to detail, like bare bones animation and art style, and you know what I mean? And you can't hold that against it. I never held the budget of the show against it because it was one of those things where it's not as well known of a series as some of these other things, but it's still got an anime adaptation to just kind of see what would happen. We talked about how it's probably never getting a season 2. Literally a month later, on Live Chart, season 2 is in TBA. So F me.
Yep. Yeah.
So that was funny as hell to me, but I hope for season 2 that they get a bigger budget and can like polish it up, because it was a very fun show. It was ridiculous. It was stupid. Some of the stuff was just whatever, but the story was fun and interesting and just a fun watch. And that's all it needed to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like in general, we like to just kind of throw in a random show here and there.
Yeah.
Whenever we have space.
Because we don't want everything to be, My Hero Academia, Bleach, something like the big headliners of everything. You know what I mean? We want to showcase other shows, kind of mix up the genres, stuff like that. I really want to get like a sports anime such as MF Ghost to be part of it if it's possible. I know there's like another motorsports anime out there. I know there's like that, I think it's called Blue Lock, that's about soccer/football. That gets a little ridiculous and like super power scaly, but it's still technically a soccer anime. So, maybe something like that. I want to like weave my like sports background into anime stuff, because I like talking about the MF Go stuff. I like talking about the car guy stuff because that's what I grew up with. So being able to talk about things like sport, like since I'm a sports guy, or maybe if they did like a wrestling anime or something like that, I could talk about more like the sports stuff and just have a sports anime like at least once or twice a year. You know what I mean? As we do stuff, because most of the sports anime are like single cores, like MF Ghost. So we could have that as a thing. So it'd be nice to get more sports stuff in there for my own personal stuff, but we like to get things in like I Parry Everything that are like lesser known, so we can see like what's going on in like what, to use a wrestling term, like the mid card of anime. You know what I mean? So and it's cool to watch stuff like that for the context of, well, it could end up being bad, but here's an example of what's bad and why it's bad, and if they had a bigger budget, whatever it is, for the budget that they had and what they did with it, completely fine. I'm very interested to see if they get a bigger budget, if they can polish some stuff up. I think it'll be a solid show, and it's already a reasonably fun, solid show for what it is. You know what I mean? It's not trying to do too much. It's not stepping outside of what it's trying to do. It never tried too hard. You know what I mean? It did everything that a series like that was supposed to do. So that was a fun watch and a nice kind of like return from everything we talked about with Guild Receptionist. So that was a thing. We also finished up the Nier anime. Season 2 did come out at like the end of 2023, but we had to put it on the back burner for other things. But it was nice to finally finish that. I think they did a good job with it for the most part, even with the contention that was between Yoko Taro, the creator of Nier, and all the related games and stuff, and like the director or producer, whoever it was, that went on this like rant about how like 9S would never do this, or 9S would, it's like, that's one of my sticking points, along with never remove something from the source material and remove it from the anime. Never tell the creator of a series that you know their character better than them. You're insane. Go F yourself. You know what I mean? You're not the creator. If the creator says something about something, it's over. Get over it. You know what I mean? So that's another sticking point for me for stuff like that, is you're not going to tell me how my character, how my creation is feeling in a situation. It's mine. I created it, not you. You know what I mean? But that stuff aside, it came out well. It filled in some gaps from Nier Automata, that kind of thing. It showed off a lot of the, even if the like little skits at the end, which were fun. The skits at the end were fun, the little puppet theater thing. Even though a lot of the endings of Nier, for those of you who don't know, there's like endings A through Z, basically, like 27 different endings. But a lot of them were like mistitled in the episode titles. Like a lot of them were references to certain endings, but they weren't showing off that ending in the puppet theater. It was something completely different sometimes, and we had to like clarify that. It's like, that wasn't ending J, that was ending, H or something, you know what I mean? So that was the only like weird thing in that whole show.
Yeah, that was general.
That.
Yeah, that was like the one big weird thing about that they did with that whole thing was every episode was named after an ending, even if it didn't really relate to that ending. And the freaking the after credits things, while they were like, some of them were ending adjacent, a lot of them just weren't actually even related to actual endings in the show.
Yep.
In the source material.
Yeah. So either way, it was still, for what it needed to do, adapting a video game with multiple endings, a lot of different player choices. I think it showed off what Taro wants to do going forward, that kind of thing, for the next Nier game, which he said he's working on. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. But it was nice to get through Nier. Solid. If you didn't play the game, I think it's a reasonable watch to get the story. So nothing really too bad there. Then we did do the Overlord movie, The Sacred Kingdom, which we talked about the last time we did Overlord, which season 4 of Overlord was another one of those ones where we just kind of had to shake our head and go, man, this is just not good. But even though The Sacred Kingdom, which was a pretty big deal in the source material, only got a movie, it was a pretty well done movie, and we were pleasantly surprised by it. So that was cool.
Yeah, they still skipped some stuff, changed some stuff, did all that like to be expected, but I honestly expected way worse.
Yeah, we weren't expecting much of anything, honestly. We're just like, yeah, okay, we're just going to do it to see what happens at this point, because we've invested ourselves into the series, and unless I just want to, completely like yeet a series out the window, we're not going to drop a show. The closest thing we got to dropping a show was Faraway Paladin, and we just said, we're not doing it for the channel. We'll watch season 2 and then talk about it, which we're going to talk about that a little bit later, because that was one of the things we watched in our own time. But either way, the Overlord movie, pleasantly surprised. Hopefully that's a trend in the right direction for the rest of that series, if we get a season 5, that kind of thing.
Yeah, the biggest thing about the freaking movie, once again, was still just the weird change they made to with the rune magic stuff of like Ainz not giving rune magic to all of the paladins, yet the paladins inexplicably being protected by the rune magic. And then the whole thing of them not going into the whole big part of the two like main reasons for the whole freaking arc in the first place was the sales campaign of rune magic, and then freaking the whole like Ainz faking his death thing leading into him what's the freaking, I'm still drawing like on the term, him essentially stepping down from responsibility for Nazarick and giving the Guardians full control, and basically saying, you only bring stuff to me if it's like a national level threat of you need me to step in, otherwise deal with it yourselves.
Right. Either way, hopefully that's a step in the right direction for Overlord and its fans and stuff like that. So that the next set of shows that we did was Shield Hero Season 4, Dan to Dan Season 2, Gachi Yakuta Season 1, which took up half the year, obviously, and My Dress Up Darling Season 2. Now, that was a solid set of shows, minus Shield Hero. So, in short, we'll talk about Shield Hero last. Dan to Dan Season 2, fantastic. No notes. It was everything it needed to be. Yes, Season 1 was massively overhyped, but that's because the internet overhypes everything and they need to stop doing it. But still, very good show. I love everything about it. Great. Gachi Yakuta, another great show. slightly overhyped, now has a very toxic fan base because of stupid nonsense, and we talked about that in the last episode of our reaction series, and if you want to see that, you can check that out. I don't really want to rehash that because it's stupid. My Dress Up Darling Season 2, one of the things that I had read all the source material about. It was cool to see that. No notes on that. Great show, great characters, great everything. They stayed true to the source material. Nothing's been cut out. They've made a couple additions that made sense, that were fun, and it's a great series. And hopefully we get Season 3, which will wrap up the series, because the source material ended last year, and they should only need about 12-13 more episodes to get everything in, including the epilogue that was written. So hopefully we get that, because I'd love to see that animated, because some of the best parts are still coming. Like, the biggest arc is coming, so I do want to see all that. But Dress Up Darling, great sequence. And for those of you watching the English dub, Amelie plays Maureen. So if you're a fan of Amelie, the cover artist, she did a great job as Maureen. So that's cool.
Cover artist / VTuber now.
/ VTuber, yeah, the Monarch. But anyway,
she doesn't go by the Monarch anymore. Like, that was like her like initial indie VTuber thing, and then when she joined VShojo, she just started going back to Amelie as being her VTuber character. And then now that VShojo has VShojo'd itself, she is still kind of sticking to Amelie / Lian Li. Like, I think she just, one of the more recent things was she actually just recently got Lian Li as her like official Twitch name finally.
Yeah, I think I saw that change happen a little bit ago. But yeah, so either way, if you're a fan of her, I've followed her for almost 10 years now, and I enjoy what she does. So more power to her. Okay, so another elephant in the room here. Shield Hero Season 4 was a giant side quest that didn't need to happen right now.
Side quest Season 4?
It was side quest Season 4, and I love the Japanese aesthetic, all the Sakura stuff, that was cool. Everything that happened, most of the stuff that happened in it, completely fine. But to reiterate everything we talked about in the season, it shouldn't have happened before the Phoenix stuff. It doesn't make sense. But if you look at what's happening with the author in Writer's Block Town, they probably just kind of went all over the place at a certain point and just got sick of writing the main story, which was compelling, the gates, the different worlds, the guardian beasts and all that, and they wanted to write this side story thing. Totally fine, but at the very least, slot it somewhere that made sense. They put the main... It's like you got to like the third boss in Molten Core, and we're just like, okay, now we're going to go do a freaking quest in Ashenvale for some reason before we get back into the instance. It doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you need to go to the third boss in Molten Core to get a drop to then take to Ashenvale to then do a series of 8 more quests in order to attune to the rest of Molten Core.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It was fine for what it was, but because of its placement in removing us from the main story that was going on with the Guardian Beasts and all that, nothing. Okay? And insanely enough, Motoyasu had the best part of the storyline, and we got to see none of it.
Yep.
Madness. In his wanting to win over Philo and all that stuff with his cursed spear, now he sees the majority of women as pigs, and he ended up, poking what's-her-face, bitch, but he ended up with, he had 3 Philolials that achieved human form. We just got the cliff notes of that. I wanted to see how that happened. That was the most interesting part of the season. We just got like, oh yeah, this happened, by the way.
Yeah, like, we just kind of get sidelined by the whole, like... So, Motoyasu somehow is capable of bypassing spirit weapon immunity. Who knows how? He just can. He stabs the hell out of Bitch. Who knows how he even found her? He didn't even realize it was her.
Yep.
Just somehow manages to corner her inadvertently. And yeah, somehow he turns his 3 freaking Philolials into he manages to get them to the point of having human forms, which from everything we know about how Filolials work, non-royal Filolials very rarely ever achieve human form.
Yeah. So again, Shield Hero season 4, it was what it was. I really don't want to rehash too much more. It was definitely just not great. It's being nice about it. For what it needed to be. Like I said, the aesthetic, all the stuff that happened was okay. But just completely misplaced, misslotted, and just the pacing wasn't great either. But either way.
It was the kind of thing of like, there were definitely ways they could have made it important to the main story, but they didn't.
Yep.
And if they really wanted to just do a side story like that, just do it as a side story. Don't make it part of the main story without being part of the main story.
Yep. So,
like, just if you're having writer's block and want to do a random side thing, just take a break and do a random side thing and have it be a separate thing. Like, for example, we're probably getting you commented on like Overlord season 5. We're probably not going straight into season 5. We're probably getting the freaking the Ghost Ship of Kot's Plains next.
Yeah.
Which was a just total random side story in the world that freaking the Overlord author decided to do as on a break from continuing the main story.
Yep. So either way, that was what it was. Season 5 has been confirmed. They're working on it, so that's going into
season
the
5 is and season 5 is where my spoiler happens that apparently a lot of people were upset about and is considered to be like the actual downfall of the series.
Right. So we'll just have to see what happens with that. Either way, the last bit of the year, we did our first live action show, Peacemaker Season 2, John Cena. Great series, honestly. I love me some John Cena. That shouldn't be a secret to anybody. I grew up with him, that kind of thing, in WWE and whatnot. I appreciate everything he's done. Obviously, he wasn't like the best wrestler of all time by any stretch of the imagination, but the stuff that he's done for like Make-A-Wish and just being a general solid human kind of thing. He's transitioned into acting, I think, a little bit better than some of the other wrestlers have. Like Dave Bautista, I think he did a good job as the Guardians of the Galaxy character, but most of Dave Bautista's other roles have been very like C-tier movie, like nothing burger roles. And John Cena was like one of the Marines and stuff like that in the Marine franchise, but I think he was the original one. But stepping into that role as Peacemaker, especially from the first Suicide Squad, that Suicide Squad movie where they redid the Suicide Squad and all that stuff.
Second Suicide Squad movie, yeah.
Yeah, and getting John, I think he's a very good Peacemaker. From everything that we learned about Peacemaker, going through all the DC stuff that we've been doing, I think he's a very good Peacemaker. And that show had a lot of intrigue. The character development was good. The storylines were solid. And season 2 was very a good step in the right direction and adds more intrigue and storylines that can be branched off on for the rest of the DCU because of how the season ends. And I need me some more Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner, because I love me some Nathan Fillion. But
yeah, which neither of us really knew much of anything about Guy Gardner going into the Superman movie or Peacemaker season 2, but apparently he is actually a fairly big deal in the Lanternverse. So like, we are actually quite a bit more interested in actually seeing more out of him.
Yep. And random side note, we did watch the Superman movie to get context for certain other things as well. And that movie was okay. You know, nothing spectacular, but it did what it needed to and wasn't like a disaster. So that's all you could really ask for in that situation, I think. But it was cool to do a live action. We want to do a couple more live actions when it makes sense. Things like if we get another season of Loki, absolutely. That was one of my favorite live action shows of all time. And I don't watch a lot of live action stuff, so that's not really saying much. The live action stuff that I watch is WWE and actual professional sports. I don't do a lot of live action. But still, Loki was very fun. I enjoyed that when we watched it in our own time. We're probably going to do season 2 of One Piece, because the first season of that was good and we enjoyed it. And we might have to do an Avatar: The Last Airbender, just singular episode, because man, was season 1 absolutely garbage fire, and the fact that it's getting a second season blows my mind. So we might have to...
I actually have managed to repress about 95% of season 1 so far.
Good. I haven't. I still can't cope with it. It was that bad, you guys. And we'll talk about it if we do like a, because I want to see what they do with it. I want to see if they get better, because The Last Airbender is one of my favorite animated series of all time. But it's just like, what are you doing? We're gonna check out the Fallout series at some point, because I really love New Vegas, and that's where they went in season 2. Yeah. So we'll probably check that out just like on our own time and maybe talk about it on a stream or something. But we want to get a couple more live actions in when it makes sense for, you know, whatever. Like if we get another season of Peacemaker or Loki, what have you. We'll probably do the One Piece season that's coming up here, just to add, because One Piece season 1 was good for what they're doing and how much they had to cover. I think they did a good job with that. So I want to see what's up with season 2, absolutely. But in the last part of the year, we had My Hero Academia, the final season, Campfire Cooking season 2, Spy Family season 3, and Has-Been Hotel season 2. And that was a fantastic way to end the year, just on all fronts. My Hero Academia, great ending. Okay, just everything that needed to happen. It was good. It was solid. Just, you know, we're getting the final epilogue episode coming in May here. It'll be cool to get that last couple chapters that the author did for some of the like post stuff, like when they get older. So it'll be cool to get that.
Unfortunately, it's probably not going to involve May.
Yeah, it's not going to involve May, unfortunately. Though she was one of our favorite characters, but that is what it is. But as it stands, My Hero Academia ended on a solid note. It was a fun watch. Everything about it was great. Can't really say anything else about it. It was one of the staples of shonen for the last decade. It set a bar, you know what I mean? Something I will say that personally irked me the other day was I saw this post about somebody that said watching the American dub of My Hero Academia turned him off of dubs because of how atrocious the voice acting was. I don't know if that's a troll or not, but the entire cast of MHA and the English dub are some of the best English VAs in the business. You cannot objectively assess them as having a bad dub. That's insane.
Yeah, there were a few characters that were definitely better in the sub, but the dub was still totally fine. I mean, there wasn't even a single Renair in there.
Yeah. So, I don't know. You can absolutely not like something, but to say that it was the dub was that bad and one of the worst dubs of all time is just factually incorrect and an insane take. You know what I mean? You cannot like it, absolutely. But to objectively assess it potentially like that is insane. There's a difference between not liking something and saying something is bad and vice versa. You know what I mean? You can not like something or like something at the same time as something being objectively good or bad. And that's something that we've talked about. And to say that the voice cast is bad is insane. They're not. Especially the primary cast, they did an amazing job. I don't care what anybody. They, from an objective standpoint, 100% completely fine. Some of the best English VAs in business that have been around for quite some time. So that's an insane take. But either way, once again, you're allowed to dislike it, but to say that they're bad, no. But as for the other stuff, Campfire Cooking, I randomly derped into that show late in the middle of last year. I watched season 1 on my own time, got Age caught up on it because it was a fun fantasy setting, another random isekai, but, you know, it does a lot of what adventure shows, some of these shows that are scrolling on Crunchyroll that I just had up there for just whatever. You can see a lot of these shows that are going on right now. Campfire Cooking did what a lot of adventure shows don't do, and the main premise is the cooking, what Makoto does. You know what I mean? And we still have, you know, a solid, tight-knit cast with his original familiar with Fel, the legendary Fenrir. He's a great character. We got Sui the Slime. They are a great character. And then we got Dora-chan, the pixie dragon this season. Solid character for what he is as well. And just the cast dynamic, what they do, the adventures they go on, them talking about how, like, obviously the author of Campfire Cooking is a massive foodie. Everything that they talked about cooking wise was spot on, and you could do it for real, just not with the fantasy ingredients, obviously. And just the fantasy, everything that happened with that show, the soundtrack was great, the visuals were solid, you know, that kind of thing. The storyline, very good. It has potential for political intrigue, maybe, or they can just keep doing what they're doing and it would be totally fine. You know what I mean? And the source material is quite long, so we have the potential for like 3 to 4 more seasons. And if they just do what they did for these 2 seasons, it'll still be great. They still have plenty to get to. They could do stuff with the other heroes that were summoned, potentially, that kind of thing.
I feel like we will get the other heroes and like the corrupt king and stuff like that eventually. It's just a matter of when does the author want to actually like start moving the like actual like serious story along and not just keep road tripping Makoto around to establish the world.
Right, because he is now an S-class adventurer. He got his card.
Yeah.
Like Elrond shoved the A card into his hand, which was a funny part of the season. But then after he took out Kira the Kraken and all that stuff, they did show that he became an S-rank adventurer. And S-rank adventurers in that world are like beacons and are a big deal.
They're legendary heroes. Like everyone knows the S-rank heroes.
And they're generally expected to do stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. So he's not going to be able to avoid the political nonsense, because here he has this stuff going on with the Mithril Mine in that country that they're in. So that's already a big deal. He's already associated with their king. You know what I mean? With the Mithril Mine rights and stuff like that. So at a certain point, as much as he wants to keep his quiet life, and I talk about like Arc from Skeleton Knight, which I'm excited for season 2 of that coming this year, is like he wanted to live the quiet life and he just didn't happen based on what he was doing. You know what I mean? So you can't remain in a quiet life when you're being super loud.
Makoto, like the whole with being the S rank, he's no longer required to do the normal like tedium quests, but he is still expected to step in anytime there is a big deal going on.
Yep. You know, like the dragon they took out in the last couple episodes that was going to be like a big deal, and they were going to ask him to do it, and then it was the classic, yeah, we already did that. You know, I mean, he conquered the dungeon in Dolan. Nobody had done that. Elrond's team got fairly far down, but they didn't beat it. So people are going to be talking, obviously.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Elrond's
and with the fact
team.
that communication in their world is instant. Like it's like a portal or something, like with mail. They didn't really explain it, but like when you send a letter, it gets there immediately.
Yeah, they mentioned that it was like they use teleportation magic of some sort for their mail delivery. We don't know like the specifics of how exactly it works, but apparently mail and stuff like that travels instantly because of teleportation magic.
Right. But apparently you can't teleport people, so interesting. But maybe some mages can do it or something, but they haven't touched on that.
It's probably a thing similar to like the teleportation magic in Slime, where like it is just extremely dangerous to sentient creatures, but like inanimate stuff is totally fine to teleport.
Right. So either way, Campfire Cooking, great show. If you like, I don't like these terms, but cozy vibes and like just fun, like adventure stuff adjacent. You know what I mean? It's a very good show for that. I think it has something for everybody. You know what I mean? I think it genuinely has something for everybody. It's a very enjoyable experience and a great show.
Yeah, the only thing that I really think Campfire Cooking really is kind of lacking is proper like action sequences.
Right.
Basically every fight is just over in one blow. And even if it's not over in one blow, it's still not any sort of like actual real action going on. Like it's still a step up for most of the action scenes we got in freaking Shield Hero Season 4, but it's still like there's not much there when it comes to like the actual action scenes.
Right. And for reference, Makoto's familiars are incredibly strong, so most of the stuff they fight is negligible to them. It's kind of like being super high level in a video game and you going back to like the level 5 area and just bonking stuff. Or even like to the case where they're fighting other S-rank creatures. They're just so powerful because of where they're at and the fact that Makoto's cooking buffs them, and they've also gotten blessings from the gods. You know what I mean? They're supposed to be, once in generation
Yeah.
heroes in this case. And not only has Makoto been blessed and he can do a reasonable amount of fighting now, Sui, Dora-chan, and Fel all have multiple blessings now from various gods that increase their stat line. And especially with Sui being a very unique slime and being able to grow more, he's kind of like Bell from Danmachi. They are kind of like Bell from Danmachi. And then you have Fel and Dora, who are already mythical beasts who have been blessed by the god of war, which when they're in combat, their stats go up by 50%. That's a force multiplier of insanity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then Sui is like not only just inherently kind of busted being a ridiculously high growth rate slime, but also having the blessing from Rushulka, who is notorious for not blessing things, so her blessings are extremely strong.
Yep. So it's a very interesting dynamic, and I'm looking forward to more of that. If the show does not continue, I will absolutely read all the source material. But since we're doing it for the anime, I don't want to read up past the point. You know what I mean? I want to keep it anime only, unless there's confirmation. So that is what it is. But other than that, the last two shows to really quickly here talk about before we talk about a couple other things has been Hotel Season 2. Hot take, not as good as Season 1, still very good. It sets up what's going to be going on in the future of the series. I know a lot of people didn't like the friendship is magic ending, and I can understand that to a certain point, but that's literally Charlie's character. So you missed the whole point of that. You know what I mean?
Well, so the friendship is magic ending is actually really clever, in my opinion, even though a lot of people hate on it, because a big part of the whole premise is basically just that Charlie is attempting to be the Disney princess of hell and trying to impose a lot of that Disney friendship is magic kind of ideology on hell, but it doesn't work because that's not what hell is.
Yep.
And so every time she tries to do friendship is magic, it blows up in her face. But then, for the ending, we get friendship is magic actually paying off. And the reason for it being, it's not Charlie who does it this time. It's Emily.
Yeah.
A being of heaven whose entire purpose and being as Emily is friendship. She is her entire purpose in heaven is to be everyone's friend and to be the one who goes around and makes sure everyone is happy in heaven.
Right.
Her whole being is supposed to be friendship incarnate, basically. So we just keep going throughout the whole season. Well, series, I mean, with Charlie constantly trying to make herself in hell what it isn't. And then we get the ending, we get this ending of friendship and magic finally working because it wasn't Charlie that did it.
Right. And I could see that. That's something that we talked about on our own time because of how we had to wrap up Has Been season, because both you and I were getting sick at the time, so we couldn't keep going and do a big time review of the season. But while once again not as good as Season 1 in my opinion, and it's not a huge step down. It's the difference between a 9.5 and a 9.3. You know what I mean? If you want to get super technical. I think they did a very good job with Vox. He was a good villain for that storyline. The way that he was portrayed, the way the VA handled it, that kind of thing. He had some of the most iconic songs of the season as well, that resonated with people, that kind of thing. And a couple of his songs were kind of inexplicably very popular. That we kind of looked at and went wow, people really like that song. Oh, okay. None of the songs were bad. There were a couple show tuney just songs that were explaining the situations that weren't really musical numbers, Gravity or Piss or Sarah's Confession, that kind of thing. that didn't really hold weight as like a song, but a lot of Vox's songs kind of like rode that line, but they still served their purpose and were enjoyed by a lot of people, which is totally fine. I don't have any problem with anything that Vox did, but you know.
Yeah, like as the season was going on, like Gravity was like by and far the most popular song initially. But then Sarah's of Confession kind of started catching up as people started paying more attention to it. But then just kind of inexplicably out of nowhere, within like a couple of weeks of the episode dropping, Brighter just took off and became like the most freaking popular and listened to song of the entire season.
Right. And we talked about a little bit about that at the in the last couple episodes. So if you guys want to see that, that's on the Has Been stuff, because I don't want to rehash everything. But a couple of things that I wanted to mention too that are kind of misconstrued about that show. Number one, that I see a lot of. Charlie is not a demon. She is the daughter of an angel and a human. She is not a demon.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty common misconception people have been having, is that Lilith isn't actually a demon. She is just a human who has who's functionally ageless because she ate the fruit of knowledge.
Yep. Still a human. So in terminology of that kind of sphere, she's what Charlie is like a Nephilim, something like that. So,
an angel human hybrid.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, that's one of the things that kind of like irks me, is like people not understanding that, and it's right there. You know what I mean? It's nothing that is. Yes, she was born in hell. Okay, but that doesn't make her a demon. Those are two different things.
She does have demonic aspects and demonic aspects to her magic and stuff like that, because she's born and raised in hell, and her father's a fallen angel who also has demonic aspects and stuff like that. Lilith has taken demonic aspects due to her time in hell. That's just kind of an established thing. But racially, no, she's not actually related to any of the actual races of demon.
Yep.
She is a Nephilim.
Yep. So that's just kind of the stuff that's going on with that. There's a lot of very good character stuff going on with Alistair. It'll be cool to see what they do with him going forward. Obviously, Lilith is a big question mark. How they potentially connect Has Been to Hell of a Boss, since now they're both being not run by Amazon, but now that Amazon has the rights to produce it, and they're going to be working on Has Been and Hell of a Boss at the same time, and obviously they're in the same universe. So,
from everything that's been said, Helava is nothing's supposed to be changing about Helava. Helava is still being made by the same crew, and Amazon's not supposed to have any actual say in the characters or story or anything for Helava. It's just a thing of they're funding the project now, and Helava is officially being considered to be an Amazon IP, so therefore they can have direct crossover now.
Yeah, which that's the whole point for that. Which, again, for anybody who doesn't know, Has Been Hotel was the highest rated Amazon series, period. Not Amazon animated series, Amazon series, period. Full stop. So they're doing quite well, and they absolutely deserve it, because the show across the board, from every aspect, attention to detail that we talked about, everything, I could go and do it again, but we're trying to keep this, around an hour long here, is great show. It's right up there with Arcane, that kind of thing, for stuff that just is just that next level of where the bar should be, what people and series should aspire to be, that kind of thing. Obviously, you're probably not going to hit it with certain shows like I Parry Everything. Those kind of shows aren't going to be that tier of thing. But when you go to make a show, you should look at it and go, I want to get, if I can get 80% of what Has Been Hotel, or even 50, or even 60-70% of what has been accomplished, I'll still have a pretty damn good show. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah, not every show needs to push the bar. There is still always a lot of demand for shows like I Parry Everything that are just fun watches, even if they're not the most groundbreaking, innovative, pushing the bar kind of anything.
Yep. Sometimes a good sandwich is just a good sandwich. You know what I mean? And I've mentioned that before, and that's how it's always going to be. I'm just fine with a good sandwich. 100%. You know what I mean? So, either way. Last show to discuss here for the stuff that we actually did for the channel. Spy Family Season 3. We just wrapped that up. We got Lloyd's backstory. That was good. We talked about all the stuff, and I don't really want to rehash it, but in short, Lloyd has to make connections to Anya and Yor to want to stay with them after the Desmond stuff, because Desmond is still like the final boss, and while it could be written something after Desmond, you still have to force those not force those connections, but have those connections with the other characters so that Lloyd just doesn't walk away. Like, he's teetering on the edge. Like, the end of Season 3, he's falling toward that whole seeing Yor as his actual wife, not just for the mission. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Seeing Anya as his actual daughter, not just for the mission. So he has to be farther along that, meter to actually stick around and get to the point of what Age mentioned in the last episode, to be the spy family, them working together to, save the world, basically. You know what I mean? Because that's probably where the series is going, and I think what would make the most logical sense is eventually the secrets will come out, a la Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they'll all know, but then they'll be able to work together to make Astani and Westalis better places and hopefully avoid war. You know what I mean? So...
yeah, it's like, once again, the whole premise to the show is that they are trying to broach peace between East and West. And the way they are doing it, inadvertently, is, having a Western guy marry an Eastern girl.
Yeah. So, again, there's a lot of intrigue there with, Project Apple, that kind of thing. Whatever happened with Anya, the speculation that Desmond has powers, whatever is going on with his wife. What's her name? It's another M name, and we just started MF
Melinda.
Ghost. Yeah, Melinda. Because MF Ghost has like 800 girl names with M. Not 800, but like half a dozen, and it's crazy. But with Melinda and the stuff that we talk about with that. So I think Season 3 did a good job at beating the typical Season 3 stigma. So it kept where it needed to be, and it was a solid season. So either way, that's what we did for the channel last year. We all know who came in last place. Shield Hero made a pretty good run at Guild Receptionist, though. I'll say that. Okay?
I mean, the real last place was anyone who watched Faraway Paladin.
Yeah. So, the last couple things we're going to talk about here, the stuff that we watched in our own time. Back on the own channel, when we watched Faraway Paladin, that was one of the shows that we kind of like pulled out of the ether, like, yeah, let's give this a shot. It had its moments, but it was not very good. So, we told everybody, okay, hey, we're going to watch Season 2 on our own time, and if it, like, gets better, we'll do a Season 3, if there's a Season 3. Let me tell you guys how the series is over. There is no Season 3. The story is over after Season 2.
Yep.
So, rip that notion. What do we think about Season 2? A big nothing burger. It was arguably worse than Season 1.
They potentially had something going there with the big dragon fight at the end.
Yeah.
It was the first, like, genuinely almost interesting thing that happened in the entire series, besides the premise itself of, like a paladin raised by undead.
Which, again, technically an isekai.
Yeah.
Technically an isekai. Never got into that at all, so many whelps. Broad strokes, another nothing burger of a season. I'm glad we watched it just to have the context, and we can point out, like, certain things of, like, what not to do. The most interesting thing in that season to me, like, besides the dragon, was, like, them going to, like, the Mage Academy and being, like, the Lost Woods from Zelda. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, just not really impressive, honestly. So, I don't know. It was what it was. I just realized that I didn't take down our MF Ghost posters, so I'm not taking them down now. and I'm not editing them out. So I hope you guys enjoyed the MF Ghost posters from our previous recording session this whole time. But either way, so we did that. We said we were going to do it. Just very, very subpar anime. Not great. You know, I know I looked into it, and a lot of people enjoy the source material. You can like it all you want. The adaptation, honestly, across the board, not good. You know? We talked about VA work earlier. Some of the VAs in that show were not amazing either. The soundtrack was like non-existent. It just had like no soul. You know what I mean? So kind of a bummer, but it happens. You know, I want things to succeed. I want them to be good and enjoyable. But when they're not, we're gonna be objective and real about it. So that's what Faraway Paladin was. A couple of the other things that we did watch at the end of the year, just keep track with the stuff that we've been trying to watch in our own time to talk about and have just continue our stuff and getting back on track. And we did Eminence and Shadow. Cool show, but man, do we hate Sid. Cool show, decent premise. Sid is just you just want to punch him in the face.
Yeah, he can be funny at times.
Absolutely,
but
he has his moments.
Him being funny is almost immediately followed up by him taking it too far and becoming unfunny.
Yep. My favorite part of Sid is his piano playing, and he has cool abilities, and he has the cool like shadow character vibe, whatever. But we caught up on that. It's a fun watch. It's part of the Isekai Quartet now, which we did watch the next season of that. Isekai Quartet Season 3. Fun. It leaned more into how all the Katakawa stuff is connected and all canon to each other and stuff like that. And Ainz was pushing the notion of, are they actually the characters, or are they like doppelgangers, or what have you? Like, so that was pretty interesting. Yeah. Season 3 of that.
They set up like the whole premise today. They set up the whole idea that essentially that rather than being a thing that has happened at a certain point or whatever, rather it is happening alongside the series.
Yeah, and these characters are just by osmosis from their original universes or their attached universes. Their character, whether they're a doppelganger or whatever, they're aware of everything that happens, and their life, their memories and stuff change. They're based on what happens in their actual original universe, that kind of thing. Whether they're there for real or not, or a copy or what have you. So it's a very interesting premise, and I like what they're doing it for. What is supposed to be like a gag show, but in all reality, it might be the most important part of all the series because of the convergence of everything. So it's something to watch.
Yeah. Which season 4 has not been announced yet, which is the only time so far the only time we haven't immediately had confirmation for the next season. Which, with how it ends, they might just leave it where it is.
They might just leave.
Love to see.
Yeah. So that's kind of interesting take of how we talked about stuff that's open-ended and whatnot. But very fun series for what it was. Tanya is coming back, the actual show, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. We have stuff to say about that, but not here. A couple of other things we did watch as well. We watched Suicide Squad Isekai. A big nothing burger until the last episode, which is where they had something. If they had started with that, man, would it have been a fun, like, good show.
Yeah.
But nope.
It wouldn't have been anything amazing or anything like that. But yeah, if they had just played it like they played the last episode and just fully leaned into, this is the Suicide Squad except for anime from the beginning, then it actually would have at very least been a very fun watch. Yeah. But they set up all of the stuff for it to be an anime and then don't make it an anime until literally the last episode.
Yeah. What took them 10 episodes should have been the first 3 episodes tops, and then the last 70% of it should have been from what we saw. But real bummer. But because of all the DC stuff we were doing, we want to check that out. We never really had time to do it for a reaction series. But they had something there at the end, but I don't think we're going to get any more, which is kind of a bummer because they set up some cool stuff, and with the Joker, that was cool, but I doubt we're going to get a second season of that. And I'll say this, I didn't need overly sexualized Amanda Waller in the ED. That was, I can't unsee that. You know what I mean? It was just,
Yeah.
And it's not like she's an unattractive woman, but it's just like, if you know Amanda Waller's character and what she is, and just in general, it's like she's not a sexual character. You know what I mean? At all. Not in the slightest. She is devoid of sexuality, period. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is, it's like, why did they turn her into, like, I don't know, pick your favorite sexualized whatever, like Katy Perry, basically. I don't know. It was just so weird.
Yeah, Amanda Waller's entire character just makes you question how the hell she ever had Abigail in the first place.
Yeah, it's like, so you actually had sex once. Crazy. You know, once again, not because she's unattractive, but just because of her character and her personality and everything. It's like, that happened? Wow. You had a daughter? What? How did that happen? There's a story. But either way, again, it wasn't the worst thing of all time, mind you. But they had something there, and it was just too late, and that's a bummer. You know what I mean? So that was what it was. But the last thing that we did kind of watch on a whim was Sonda, a show about a kid who is a descendant of Santa Claus and can turn into Santa Claus as like a transformation. It's like in that realm of absurdity of like Dan to Dan, Mashal, that kind of thing. And it was okay. It was okay.
And apparently made by the freaking author who did Beastars, because she apparently decided she was done with furries for a little while there.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. I know about Beastars, never watched it, not really too interested in it personally. But when I heard that, I was like, really? That's the Beastars author? That's interesting. All right. But yeah, it was. What I appreciated most about that show was that it deviated from like the what you'd call like the industry standard art style and character design. I appreciated the character design like, for what it was.
His fiance, like the way they animate her mouth is like, it's interesting. Like pretty much everything about it is interesting.
It was very Dr. Seuss. You know what I mean? Yeah. Those kind of character designs, like the Grinch, the Nightmare Before Christmas guy, Skellington, right? That's his name?
Jack Skellington.
Yeah, it had that kind of vibe, and I appreciated it. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
If you just want kind of like absurd weirdness for a core with Santa Claus, sure, why not?
It is also very sexual, but also it's the Beastars author, and she is very sexual.
Yeah, it's very sexual, but you know, it is what it is, and also has a very interesting premise as to what's going on with children in like 2080s area time frame. So
yeah, I don't think we ever gotten like an official time period, but it's at least like 100-some years in the future or something like that.
Yep. So that was a kind of a weird thing to watch during the holiday season, but again, decent. You know, nothing spectacular, but it has that like weird Dan to Dan vibe. Not as good as Dan to Dan, obviously, but the art style is different if you're looking for a different art style, that kind of thing. And I appreciated that for what it was, and it was just an interesting watch. I'm glad we watched it for what it was. It was okay, you know.
Yeah, another random thing I did find interesting about it specifically was the relationship aspects to it, in that it immediately sets it up as being the typical, you know, main hero, main heroine are probably gonna get together kind of thing. But then quickly sidelines that with like her whole like relationship with the missing friend, and the fact that like the main character Sonda doesn't get along with his fiance because he's in an arranged marriage and stuff like that. But then very quickly over the course of the show, they start like building up actual genuine feelings for each other, and it kind of turns into a bit of a will they, won't they between the fiance and the main heroine.
Yep. So they did a good job with that in 12 episodes. There was a lot of interesting things. So it's definitely a kind of an out there series for what it is. I wouldn't hold the author responsible for other things. You know what I mean? So I'd say give it a shot if you want some weirdness. With
Apparently,
Santa
she's just
Claus
back. Apparently, she's just back to full furry town again.
Right. Yeah. But either way, I think it was done pretty well for what it was, and I guess I would recommend it for like weirdness. You know what I mean? That kind of like Dan to Dan FLCL kind of vibe. That, if anything,
I'd say
for the different art style and the very solid character interactions and development that happens in a very short period of time.
Yeah, I'd say. Well, most of the people who talked to me about it before we watched it likened it to Dan to Dan. I'd say it's closer to FLCL.
Yeah.
Still not as good as either of those shows by any means. But I'd say like it is very similar to FLCL functionally.
Yep. So that's how we wrapped up the year. We have plans for this year to do more stuff. Like we have the gaming discussions that we definitely want to do. I'm gonna get them in no matter what. We have the stuff going on with Hitman with Madhouse. Hopefully he can find time to do that. If Madhouse isn't around, I will just do the elusive targets on my own, and Age will hang out while I do that. And then just a couple other random gaming discussions about just what we're doing, what we think about things that are going on with stuff like Hoyo, and make fun of Blizzard, probably that kind of thing. But yeah, we have plans to do more stuff. Maybe we'll have some Patreon exclusive stuff, that kind of thing, if people want it. Honestly, on the horizon, if we do get like a reasonable sized community, which I'm trying to push to get monetized on this channel, because just the way of the world, I need revenue from wherever I can get it. You know what I mean? So we'll just see what happens with that. But as it stands, with redoing the channel, not being able to promote it at all yet, that's going to be coming. So I'm going to be running another Google ad campaign because it seems to work. So yeah, got to advertise. You know what I mean? So if you guys enjoy us, give it a shot, that kind of thing. We'll do our intro video explaining how we do stuff, why we're doing stuff, how we handle that kind of thing. That'll be coming up. But we wanted to get this year in review thing, talk about the stuff that we did, the stuff that's coming up this year. Obviously, we just started our winter set of shows with MF Ghost, Jujutsu Kaisen, Fire Force Season 3, and we're also going to be doing Frieren when that dub starts here in a couple days, hopefully. And since apparently Frieren Season 2 is going to be shorter, like 10 episodes, having to wait a couple extra weeks for it doesn't really mess up our schedule, so that'll be fine. But there's a bunch of other stuff coming out this year. We're probably going to have to pick some like random things out, kind of like an I Parry Everything or a Guild Receptionist, because there's a lot of bigger time stuff. Like the biggest thing coming out this year is obviously Frieren. That's going to be one of the biggest things. Then we got the next part of Bleach, that the final part of 1,000 Year Blood War. So that's going to be huge.
Yeah, that's going to be a very big deal.
That's going to be a huge deal. And then some of the other things that we have done, Skeleton Knight Season 2, I'm excited for that. We got Reincarnated as a Sword Season 2 coming at some point this year, and several other things that we're going to have to look into, but those are just some of the highlights of things that we're looking to do this year, that kind of thing. So it'll be interesting to see what we're able to get done. JoJo's the universe reset, that's going to be fun. Steel Ball Run, I'm looking forward to that, because that's like sports adjacent. You know, a bull run is a sporting event technically. It's basically it's like a cross country marathon race-esque thing. So
yeah, it's they're supposed to be going for like one side of the U.S. to the other over the course of like a month, or whatever. So
that should be fun. So there's a lot of big time stuff coming out this year, and we'll try to roll in some extra smaller things. But I'm looking forward to this year getting more stuff done. And yeah, so that's what we're going to be looking for. Maybe we'll pull one of these shows that have been scrolling up here, that kind of thing. Crunchyroll did raise their freaking rate, which, is the double whammy of also removing their free tier. So, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be going to the high seas, which, in case anybody forgot, Crunchyroll started as a pirate website. Hilarious, am I right? But I think there's a lot of consumer unfriendly stuff going on these days. Hopefully it gets better, but I don't want to get too political because that's not what we do. But just in general, there's a lot of consumer unfriendly stuff going on these days. It's not a good look, honestly. So we'll just have to see what happens. But as it stands, that was our 2025 year in review. Pretty decent year. We had more ups than downs, obviously, but it was one of our biggest years for things that weren't great. So that is what it is. But I'm glad we get the subpar, mediocre, bad stuff, so we can talk about it, explain why it's bad, how it could be improved, that kind of thing. So we have the entire spectrum and not just talking about how things are always amazing or always great or whatever. Or and once again, we're not the kind of people who sit here and just rag on stuff all the time, because to me that's boring. Too much negativity out there. When things need to be criticized, absolutely. But talk about a lot of other reactors and YouTubers and stuff like that. They only focus on the negative, and they never talk about what they like about the series and stuff like that. Or it's like 95% they talk about what they hate about it, and then it's like 5%, oh yeah, I liked this, and that was it. They don't even expand upon it or talk about how things can be improved or what they think could be better. They just hate on it because criticizing stuff and yelling about something and being negative is popular, which it should not be. We need to be uplifting, try to be more positive, talk about the things that are good, how they can improve, and yes, talk about the negative things, but don't make it like, the angry, like I'm yelling about everything reviews. I can't believe they would do this. It's just like that kind of stuff should not be popularized, in my opinion, because it's too much negativity and it leads to all the shit you see on Twitter or Reddit or whatever, and it's just like it just needs to like be toned down. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
we'll talk about that kind of stuff a little bit more in the like extended part of our intro video. But our biggest tipping points and talking points for any anime is we're as objective as possible. You can like something but think it's bad, and you can dislike something and think it's good, and any myriad in between. Those are two different things. Two cardinal sins as far as we're concerned for any anime: don't remove anything from the source material. I understand that for certain countries you have to censor stuff, that's totally fine, but removing something from the source material, cardinal sin. If you want to add stuff to it, like the meme frame from the first episode of season 3 of Jujutsu Kaisen, hilarious. That doesn't happen in the actual source material. Totally fine, add stuff like that, absolutely. Don't take things like Negretto away from Overlord, or removing entire arcs from Tanya, what have you. You know what I mean? And then the other thing is, whatever the author says goes. If you can't cope with that, just get off the bus. It's their series. Enjoy it for what it is, but it's not your series. It's their story. Just like I talked about with the Yoko Taro stuff earlier, he knows his characters more than anybody else because they're his. He is the author. The creators are always going to be the final, just decisive argument enders when it comes to anything. So like we talked about has been earlier, anything Vivian says, that's it. It's over. Doesn't matter what anybody else says. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. You can not like it, but you have to respect it because it's their work, their art, their project. We're just, we're basically visitors in their house and we're viewers of their show. And yes, we can be invested in it and want the best for it and want more out of the characters or what have you, but it's still their work, their process, their art, and whatever they say goes, and you have to respect it. So anyway, that's all we got for this. This went a little bit longer than I wanted, but there was still a ton of stuff to talk about, and I've been wanting to do this for a while. So once again, I apologize for the MF Ghost stuff going on over there because we had just wrapped up the MF Ghost thing, but I'm not going to edit it out. It's not worth it. You know what I mean? So I just think it's funny at this point. I looked over and I was like, oh, I didn't take the MF Ghost stuff down. But, whatever. I hope you guys enjoyed Canada over there. Just hanging out. So anyway, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this recap, what we're going to be doing, that kind of thing. We have the reintroduction video coming out here shortly that I'll be promoting and all that kind of stuff to try to get more eyes on the channel and not typical, promotion stuff. So anyway, if you enjoyed the content, feel free to subscribe here on Patreon, wherever. All that stuff's free. It supports us, that kind of thing. Yeah, it's free, so push the button if you think you might come back ever. You know what I mean? I don't expect everybody to watch everything we do because, we do a wide variety of stuff here and not everybody enjoys everything of everything, and that's totally fine. Come for what you like, don't watch what you don't like. Not a big deal, but if you spend any amount of time with us, we appreciate it because time is the most valuable commodity. So, as always, ladies and gentlemen, people of YouTube, beyond however you're watching, we always appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us here in the dojo for more anime Dojo. This was the 2025 year in review that we wanted to do. So yeah, got it done. Happy about that. And we'll see you for all the stuff going on in 2026 and beyond. So have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it is for you. Have a good one. See you next time.
Hey everyone, Victoria here. If you enjoyed the video, please consider pushing those like and subscribe buttons. Your support is greatly appreciated. Thanks again for your time, and we hope to see you again in the future.